Speaking of the Vikings, and we don't do the after further review segment on Wednesday's PFT Live anymore. I do it here as needed. And the good news is there haven't been a lot of screwy calls lately that require close analysis. However, I want to talk about the rule that applies to players removing their helmet in the field of play. We saw it happen twice this past weekend, once in the Chiefs-Vikings game and once in the Ravens-Steelers game. I'll start with that one. TJ Watt sacked Lamar Jackson to essentially end the game. Steelers up 17-10. After the play ended, TJ Watt took off his helmet. And we were watching in the viewing room at that point, and multiple voices said, that should be a foul, that should be a foul. And look, I don't think a lot of people like the rule. The rule is about 30 years old. The idea is they don't want players removing their helmets as part of a celebration or a demonstration or a confrontation on the field of play. It's a pretty bright line, and it usually gets applied with some degree of consistency. It did get applied to Watt. Now, the first thing you think is Dwayne Rudd, Chiefs playing the Browns, 2002, 2003 timeframe. Miles Simmons will know which specific year it was because it's one of the scars he carries around on his soul as a lifelong Browns fan. But when TJ Watt removed his helmet, the first thought is, uh-oh, the Ravens get another chance. They get 15 yards and a first down. But when the helmet removal happens after the play, it's over. That was fourth down. Possession had changed when the play ended. The Steelers lost 15 yards of field position for their first down play. What happened with Dwayne Rudd, and the clip's out there on YouTube. I'll probably run a link to it because I'll write about this at some point. Dwayne Rudd removed his helmet in celebration while the play was still happening. And the Chiefs player, offensive lineman who ended up with the ball, rumbled, bumbled, stumbled, where he got to a point that you tack on the 15 yards, makeable field goal, and that's that. So that's what happened there. Also, it wasn't a change of possession. I think that's the key, too. It extended the game. The time had run out, but the helmet came off during the play. When you have a fourth down, if the helmet comes off for a defensive player after that fourth down play ends, and if the offense hasn't gotten a first down, you don't get the ball. The other team has the ball. That's what happened in Ravens and Steelers. Now, here's what happened in Vikings hosting the Chiefs. It was a 4th and 7 play. And I went back and watched this whole sequence today and listened to the commentary from Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Gene Steratore, the rules analyst. Kirk Cousins threw a ball to the end zone, threw it to Jordan Addison, who was covered by L'Jarius Sneed. The official standing right there as Sneed prevented Addison from getting over the ball threw the flag. They had a conversation among the officials. Now, when that happens, we don't know who else is talking to the officials. And I'm a firm believer that if Al Riveron, the former NFL executive VP of officiating, had simply used his pipeline to the referee in the Rams-Saints NFC Championship game in early 2019 to tell the officials, drop a flag for pass interference, and they had done that and didn't bother to say to the world who told them to do it, yes, it's a violation of the procedure, but it gets the call right. And so now when we see that, even though pass interference isn't subject to replay review because they made it subject to replay review in 2019 and it was a disaster, the standard was all over the place. It was just a mess. It's one of the reasons why the league, I think, is gun shy about making other rule changes. They screwed that up so badly, they don't want to do anything else. But when you watch it, you just wonder who's talking to the referee, who's telling the referee beyond the people on the field, because the official assigned to that side of the field where Sneed and Addison were jostling. And if you watch it, there's contact. There's an effort. It wasn't just standing there like when a guy's taking a charge. Like if you're the defensive back, you're allowed to stand in the way of the receiver. And you're allowed to face guard. You're allowed to do, but you just can't, you can't do that. Big hands. You can't do that. So it looks like Sneed pushed him. When you watch it, looks like he did. They picked up the flag and they never explained why. The referee's saying something, And I thought he was explaining why, but I think he just said change of possession. It's going to be Kansas City's ball. He didn't say it had been tipped. Patrick Mahomes was doing that on the sideline. It wasn't tipped. Tony Romo pointed that out. It's just they decided it wasn't interference. And they didn't say it was uncatchable, and it didn't look uncatchable because but for L'Jarius Sneed shoving Jordan Addison away from the path of the ball, he would have caught it. And they rarely call things uncatchable anymore. That is a very tough judgment to make. How do we know if it would have been catchable? We don't know because the guy didn't get a chance to go catch it. So that's part one. Part two is after the flag was thrown, L'Jarius Sneed removed his helmet and approached the officials. And it sure looks like they told him to put his helmet back on. One of the officials was patting the top of his head. He wasn't doing that. That's uncatchable. When you put your hand over the top of your head, he's patting the top of his head like, put your helmet back on. He puts his helmet back on. Now, it was post-possession. The Chiefs would have had the ball 1st and 10 from their 12 instead of 1st and 10 from their 24. There are people out there who are defending the Chiefs saying, it doesn't matter. Well, we don't know that it doesn't matter. We go back to that point and play it out with the Chiefs 1st and 10 from their 12. How would they call it differently from the 12? What would they do differently? What would the Vikings have done differently? It's 12 yards of field position from the 24 back to the 12. It changes potentially everything. And the point is, they blew it. They didn't call it. Kudos to Nance and Romo and Sterator for pointing out that it should have been called. And, I've gotten the pushback from the Chiefs fans that just want to defend this blindly, and I know that's how it goes. Well, it's a judgment call. Somebody says a judgment call. It's not a judgment call. Here's the rule. Unsportsmanlike conduct, the list of prohibited acts. Item H, removal of helmet by a player in the field of play or the end zone during a celebration or demonstration or during a confrontation with a game official or any other player. Sneed removed the helmet to go talk to, i.e. confront the official who had flagged him for pass interference. Now, from his perspective, who cares about the foul? It's 1st and goal at the 1. Oh, now it's 1st and goal at the half-yard line because he removed his helmet. They should have flagged him, and it should have been half the distance from the 24 after they picked up the interference call. That just got lost in the shuffle. But here's what it does. And this is why this is so important. You got plenty of fans thinking that the NFL is in the tank now for the Chiefs because of the whole Taylor Swift thing. Even though she wasn't there on Sunday, they're Swifties now. And they love that connection. The NFL finally found something bigger than them that they could attach themselves to and ride the coattails of a phenomenon even larger than the NFL. So when something weird like that happens and it benefits the Chiefs, people are going to say, aha, they're helping the Chiefs. They want the Chiefs to win. They want the Taylor Swift thing to keep going. They'd love to have Taylor Swift in the stands at the Super Bowl, cheering on her man, Travis Kelce. So that's why it's a big deal. It's a big deal regardless of that angle. It was an error by the officials, plain and simple. But because it helped the Chiefs, it ends up looking even worse than it otherwise would. So, look, I think it was interference. It should have been 1st and goal at the 1, and then it should have been 1st and goal at the half-yard line after the L'Jarius Sneed removal of the helmet. Neither was flagged. One was, it was picked up. The other one was just completely ignored. Worst case scenario, it should have been 1st and 10 on the 12-yard line for the Kansas City Chiefs. So there's nothing we can really do about it, but they better button it up because if this perception continues that the Chiefs are getting favorable calls because the NFL is Swifties now and they want the Chiefs to go as far as they can, that's not good for anybody. Whether it's the reality, if it's the perception, that's all that matters because in matters like this, perception is reality. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.